Hey folks, Dr. Palermo coming to you with your week 1 instructional video for MELS 602. Now, as an introduction, the title of the course is Research and Assessment for the 21st Century Administrator. That's a whole bunch, but let's think about the title as two big topics. Research. Well, we want to go over the basics of educational research, and this is not a research institution. Many of you are school administrators. You're not in a dissertation program. This might be different if you were in a doctoral program, but I want you to come out of this course. The objective is for you to know enough research such that you can read and analyze, digest some research, and I'm going to throw some research articles and research data at you in order to practice that. The second part of the title is assessment, research and assessment. We're measuring stuff and assessing stuff in education all of the time. So as an aspiring school administrator, what do the teachers need to know about assessment that you need to help some teachers learn? So in order to stay ahead of the teaching staff, what do you as an administrator need to know about assessment, best practices in assessment, how to measure stuff in education? Now the focus again is on you in the MELS program as a rising public school or private school administrator. The goals or objectives of the program are not to graduate you as a psychometrician, not a doctor of education, but to be a master of research and assessment such that you can lead schools. Okay. So the focus is on applying your knowledge, and you're going to do that in many cases through the evidence work that you're going to be doing, primarily on the APTEL, number 2 in the 6 artifacts. But also you're going to be revisiting APSEL-C, which is about your improvement project, small school improvement project, and then the SIAP, the big school improvement project, so that you'll be gathering data for number 6, SIAP A and B, as well as APSEL-C. There are a total, in fact, of 8 different evidences to be submitted during 602, and let me go to that in just a minute. But first, about the readings, since we're here, you're going to have a lot of stuff to read and digest during the course of this semester. Now, you spread it out and do it any way that you can, but I will be directing you with at least one of the dialogues and discussion posts each week is going to be from the content. And when I say content, I'm talking often here about Reynolds, and I will refer to this book by Reynolds and Livingston and Wilson as Reynolds. That's Measurement and Assessment in Education. And for this week, it was Chapter 1, An Introduction to Educational Assessment. Now, there are lots of ways to read. I want us to start with the first word at the inside the cover and go to the end. I'm a skimmer. I'm a reader, but I make sure that I have read the chapter highlights, that I know the key language that's going to be used. I always look for bullets and for pullouts and for tables and charts that are going to inform me about the content of the chapter. Here in Reynolds on page 3, for instance, definitions of test and measurement and assessment, and how those things are different. So I'm going to read the whole chapter, but I'm going to especially key in on big ideas like that. Psychometrics, reliability, validity. There's definite language in here that you need to know and master. I'm not going to quiz you on all this stuff. So again, applying this knowledge in your work on your evidences is often the way to go. Check each of the chapters does have headings and subheadings. Tables and charts do suggest those. For instance, on 25 in Reynolds, table 1.5, teacher competencies in educational assessment. And again, oftentimes we've got to think about this, about what can you lead, what do you need your teachers to know in your building. Summaries at the end of the chapters are pretty good too. And chapter 2 in Reynolds is on the basic math of measurement. So again, measurement. The big thing for you to know, and I hope that as you are coming out of the classroom and gaining more of a 30,000-foot view of the school, be wary. If anyone tells you for certain that a particular number on a particular test is in black and white, and will, especially if that's going to define a child's future, if that's going to be his final grade or his assessment that will determine placement in a class, for instance, in a math class, in an advanced math class, in a special education program. Measurement is fraught with error, and though we try to be scientific and try to measure accurately and to assess in order to make smart decisions, be wary and always a little bit skeptical, especially if somebody is telling you for sure they know that kid belongs in advanced math because of a particular score on one administration of a test. Kind of hard to tell that stuff. So Reynolds, good stuff. Make sure that you know enough of that in order to answer the questions in the dialogue post. The other text is a loose leaf. It's what I'm calling Gall, and it is Gall et al., Gall, and Borg, applying educational research. And again, this is more of the nuts and bolts about how to do the research. Reynolds' assessment, so this one's research. And those are the big two topics, and we're going to flip-flop back and forth on those. Chapters 1 and 2 is what you were to master for this first week. Also, read that, skim read that, do check the important ideas. I like Gall that tells us that the problems of practice, the important ideas, the key terms, and then there's a summary and a self-checklist at the end of each chapter. Might be a good place to start at the end of the chapter and say, do I know that stuff? Do I know the difference between quantitative and qualitative research methods, or what mixed methods might be all about? In Chapter 2 in Gall and Gall, doing your own research from proposal to final project. Well, you are going to do a little bit of research this week for your APSL-C, and then a little more for your APTEL, the analysis and action plan for teacher empowerment and leadership. APTEL, I know what these mean. So an outline for a research proposal, how to do research. I'm going to say more about that, in particular about how to use the Dover Resource Library resources that are available to you through Gardner Webb. Many of you are going to be doing your research online, and the Gardner Webb Dover Library has a lot of resources for you. Also in the content here, you have a PowerPoint that summarizes some of the key concepts in the chapter. 6 Principles for Scientific Inquiry is a handout that I picked up not long ago somewhere. And so, again, each week reading the content in the chapters, checking out the PowerPoints, checking out the additional items that I've loaded here for your information, and then addressing the dialogue posts in each week. Now this week I'd ask you to make a short video, doesn't have to be longer than 2 minutes, and load it in the discussion. There's no grade for that, but I'd love to see your face and meet you prior to our coursework. And in the week 1 area of improvement investigation, your second dialogue and assignment for this week is to revisit your APSL. AAPSL is the plan for student learning that you should have written in 601. Now maybe you wrote and you have loaded APSL A and B and feel good about that. According to my checklist, APSL C should have been written last semester too. So maybe it's as simple as taking that out and polishing it off. Perhaps you want to spend a little bit more time once you understand the practices of research better in order to, again, address the big idea for the APSL-C, which was to take your big idea. What area of student learning did you need to improve? Third grade reading? If so, what are some strategies? What are some ideas to improve reading in third grade? Maybe your school already has a software program or a pullout of some program identified to help improve reading in third grade. Research that. Find out more about best practices. If it's a canned program, what do you know about it? What can you learn about it looking online? So using at least one citation, cite appropriately, respond and tell how you are going to investigate this area for improvement. If you haven't written your APSL-C, this dialogue is asking you to help, is prompting you to start writing your AppSell-C. So I'm going to make a video now about the AppSell-C and put it over here in Artifact Resources. But before we go there, I hope that you have looked at the course calendar. Now I'm going to, it lives right here, but I'm going to pull up the course calendar. I already had it open and review it with you briefly. I hope that you've looked at this already, but to the end of the syllabus. I tried to map out the 10 weeks of the summer semester by mapping out the readings that were necessary, some of the assignments that go with. But what I mostly want to show you is we have a lot of writing to do this summer, folks. And in 10 weeks, what I did was take the eight different documents that you're to submit, 9 along with the strategic planning document, and spread them out over the 10 weeks with 1 week worth of peer coaching. Now you should be familiar with that process from 601. I don't know if your 601 instructor assigned you peer coaching teams. I'm just going to ask that someone start by loading their AppSell-C in the dialogue on the discussion board and ask 2 people to respond to that first post. Each of us then should then respond to 2 others, but I was not going to assign you to teams. Just ask you to do that as you get to it. But again, 8 or 9 different items to turn in. So each week we will do a peer coaching, and that'll be open for a week, and then your artifact will be due that next week. And I'll put something in the week 3 box so that you can just submit your AppSell-C there. You'll submit it to me there again for formative feedback, but feedback in a Blackboard post where I will I'll give the grade 4321, the same rubric as I use in TaskStream, and at that point you'll then push it on to TaskStream for requesting comments. So you see peer coaching on the AppSell-C, submit AppSell-C. Peer coaching on the AppTel-A, submit the AppTel-A. And that's the way the pattern goes all the way through the 10th week, and I'll have you turning in that AppTel. Nope, sorry, that's the 8th week. Turning in the SciApp A and B on the last week of the class. But there are 10 weeks, and you have 9 different documents to submit. So starting next week, you'll have peer coaching on one of these evidence documents. A lot to do. I would print this thing out and get started on it if I were you. I know that you are, many of you, closing out the school year, but if you, I would suggest that you bite this elephant and chew it one bite at a time, and that's the way to get through. Write to me if you have any questions, please, but that's the video for this week. I look forward to working with you and seeing your writing. Thank you.